Hey everyone, welcome to the very first episode of Yake. I'm your host, Jun. This podcast is finally live and I'm feeling all sort of emotion right now. Excited, a bit nervous, but mostly just really happy to be here. Thanks so much for tuning in to listen to this Malaysia-made podcast. I hope you enjoy what is coming up. So, why did I start this podcast? Honestly, it is because I have always loved having conversations with people about the everyday stuff in life, whether it is over a cup of teh ice kurang manis after work or while shopping at the pasar malam. There is something about these little exchanges that I find really meaningful. It is in these moments that I often stumble upon interesting thoughts and perspective. Have you ever had one of those days where a random thought just hit you out of nowhere? Like when you are sitting at a kopitiam with your roti bakar and suddenly the uncle at the next table start talking about yesterday news, or you are sharing story from your childhood over nasi lemak with friends. Those moments feel special, don't they? That is what inspired me to start this podcast. Take those kinds of everyday conversations and share them with more people. So, that is how Yake was born. My goal is to create a space where we can talk about anything and everything, from the little things that make us smile to the bigger issues that make us stop and think. Now, what exactly are we going to talk about on this podcast? Well, honestly, a little bit of everything. I love talking about the small things in life, the kind of stuff that you might not pay much attention to, but when you do, you realize it is actually pretty interesting. For example, have you ever wondered why we have eyebrows? Are they just there for looks, or do they serve some kind of purpose? Or why is the typical work day set as 9 to 5? These are things we often take for granted, but there is probably a reason behind them that we are never really thought about. Then there are those everyday moments that make you stop and think. Like the time I was at Pasar Malam enjoying some char kway teow and I overheard a group of aunties chatting about their daily life. They started off talking about their kids and the usual neighborhood gossip, but then they moved on to bigger topics like education and the challenges of raising kids in today's world. It reminded me that even the simplest conversations can be full of wisdom and insight. And sometimes we will get into the more serious stuff. We might discuss social issues, the kind we all talk about over lunch or while hanging out with friends. Maybe we will dive into recent headlines, those stories that everyone has an opinion on, or we could touch on more controversial topics, like how we navigate life in multicultural society, the challenges that come with it, and the opportunities it presents. These are all things that shape our daily life and our society as a whole, and I think they are worth exploring. But it won't all be serious. We are going to have some fun too. Like, have you ever noticed how every state in Malaysia has its own version of laksa? Or wonder why Malaysians are so obsessed with kopi o? There's a lot of culture and tradition behind these everyday things, and I think it is fascinating to dig into that. No matter what the topic, whether it is light-hearted or deep, I'll be sharing it with you here. My hope is that these conversations will give you something to think about, or at the very least, make you smile during your day. Now you might be thinking, isn't it a bit boring with just one person talking? I get it, but honestly, I think there is something fun about doing this solo. It lets me just freely share whatever on my mind without worrying about interrupting anyone. That said, I'm definitely open to having guests in the future, maybe some interesting friends or people with cool stories to share. There is so much going on around us and everyone has their own unique take on things. So who knows, in the future, this podcast might become a space for those voices too. For now, thought, I'm enjoying the freedom of just talking things through on my own. It is a bit like having a conversation with myself, but in a way, it feels like I'm chatting with all of you out there wherever you are. So I hope you will enjoy it as much as I do. Looking ahead, I'm really excited about where Yake could go. I don't want this to just be me talking, I want it to be something we all get involved in. If there's a topic you are interested in or if you have thoughts on something I have said, I'd love to hear from you. You know, sometimes the best conversations start from just one simple idea or questions. Maybe there is something you have always wondered about, or maybe there is a story from your own life that you think would be fun to explore. Whatever it is, don't hesitate to reach out and share it with me. Your input is super important to me. And who knows, your suggestion might just inspire the next episode. I'm also hoping that over time we can build a little community here, a place where we can all share our thoughts, ideas, and stories. Because at the end of the day, this podcast is not just about me. It is about all of us and the things we experience every day. Alright, that's a wrap for today's pilot episode. Even though this is just the first episode, I really hope Yake becomes a little bright spot in your life, a place where you can pause, think, or just have a laugh. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. There's a lot more interesting content coming your way. And seriously, if you have any suggestions or ideas, I'd love to hear them. Your feedback really means the world to me. Thanks again for all your support. Catch you in the next one. Bye for now.